The name of the book, Walking Through the Shadows. With us is Roy Mack and his wife, April Mack. And his story, when we first started talking, because we met off the air, I'm telling you, I got chills, and I thought there's so many people that can relate to this. And how do you, when you all of a sudden get a wicked curveball, how do you bounce back? So we're so happy to welcome them both to Author's Corner here on America Tonight with me, Kate Delaney. Hello to both of you, Roy and April.
Hey, what a joy to be with you, Kate. Thanks for allowing us to be on.
Oh, hi. Of course. Hello to both of you. Let's give a little background here. Roy, talk about the fact that, I mean, you're loquacious, you're gifted, you're a Bible teacher, you're a speaker, you're a mentor. I could go on and on. You're a family man, you know how to spread messages, and you have to have felt like, I don't know what the feeling would be like. I guess I don't want to put words in your mouth, but did you feel like, wow, what a blessing. I feel gifted. I'm using my gifts. What's your life been like?
Yeah, that's, well, all those things are very kind. You say that, but yeah, I've felt like, I've just been in the hand of God and being used. And, in your opening there, you said, boy, cancer is a wicked curveball. I mean, it is life's greatest interruption so far for me. And that's what it felt like. It was, I'm just doing all the things that I love and right in the midst of just, living out the blessings of life. And all of a sudden you realize how quickly that can turn just with one little bit of news dropped on you.
And when did that happen? How did you get the news, Roy?
Very, very interesting. End of 2017, I had a little bit of a lump come up under my arm, and I did what a lot of men do, just ignored it, hoped it would go away. And I didn't realize, but it was lymphoma, and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma was the diagnosis, but it was already just pulling. Fatigue is one of the great indicators of lymphoma, and it was already stage 4 by the time I got into a hospital, got diagnosed. But I told April, I knew if I just told her that something would happen pretty quick, and it wasn't 24 hours, and I was in front of a doctor who actually attended our church, and he got me right in, got diagnosed, and into the hospital, all the tests. And honestly, it probably saved my life, because it was, even then, I was fading pretty quick and just didn't realize it.
Wow. April, what was that like for you?
I really didn't think this was going to be, I'm a pretty glass full person and a very positive outlook most all the time. And I thought, this is not going to be anything, and we'll just get it taken care of. And so when our friend doctor that attends our church, as Roy said, walked into our hospital room that night, he texted Roy and he said, is April still at the hospital with you? He seemed well. He was just fatigued, and the doctor had said, let's just put you in the hospital, run tests, we can find out real quickly what's going on. And so just in an afternoon, those tests were run. They came back that night, and our doctor friend walked into the hospital room, and he shook his head and he said, this isn't good. He said,
Kate, you're in trouble when your doctor starts to cry.
Oh, no.
Right. And so anyway, he told us that the cancer was in his spleen. It was, there were some spots on his spine, on his hip bones, and then also this large a thing under his arm. And so, which was about the size of a grapefruit. It was more internal than it was external.
Yeah.
And you just, I was shocked. I was completely flabbergasted, and I had intended to leave the hospital that night and not stay with him because he really was just there to have tests done. And I took my coat off and I crawled in the bed beside him, and we just said, we're going to get through this. And I don't know, we got in the car the next day and we're driving through the Panera drive-thru, and I'm thinking, I'm doing something very normal. I cannot believe this has happened. I think you feel like it's not supposed to happen. You think it's going to happen to other people, but not to you. And Roy was 50 years old and thought, this is crazy. But at some point within a few days, and it took a while to get an official diagnosis and get a treatment plan, but we were sitting in our living room. We had grandchildren around us, a couple of our daughters, and I thought, I am not going to let the shadow of this diagnosis take away the joy of this moment, this time right here where my husband is here and my grandkids are here and people are happy and kids are playing, and I'm not going to not enjoy the joy of this moment. And so I tried to have that outlook walking through this journey.
Wow. That's a great positive glasses half full response for sure. And maybe that's part of it in your belief system and everything that led you to think that, and looking at your family. So Roy, I mean, that's the title of the book, Walking Through the Shadows, what
Right.
April said there. So tell me the road to writing the book. What made you write the book?
It's just like it seemed like God just kind of chose us to, walk this path. And, you want to hope, as you know, there was, cancer came back, and there was, the road got a lot longer, and you think, well, I'm going to write a few things down that I think I'm going to learn from this. I'm talking about when the first year of cancer. And there was a lot of things. I just kind of journaled as I went, and I thought, one day this might be maybe more than a speaking topic. It might be maybe this could be a book. And I had no idea that, it was going to be so much the more. But, God's promise is He does all things well, and He makes all things beautiful in His time. And, really, as a pastor, I have sat with hundreds of people, getting a diagnosis, going through treatment, end of life scenarios. And it really was the sum of all my fears, which is also what I write about in the book. It's touched my family so deeply. And then you realize the statistics are almost now even, 1 in 2, men and women. Maybe it's about 45% of women, but somewhere in your lifetime, you end up having something, some form or type, or, it doesn't always as bad as what my situation was, but somebody's going to be dealing with it. Other people are going to be walking through a trial like this with somebody they love. And knowing there's just that great need, thought, well, I'll write this because I believe it'll be a great help. And it has certainly turned out that way. We hear from people every week somewhere in the country that have been gifted this book or bought the book or something that, it's really helped them. And so, my calling as a pastor is to help people and to be a spiritual shepherd in a lot of ways. So God's used this to really expand what He's done in my life.
I like in the book, you really do cover it all. You talk about the thing about plans. You start off right there. I love that. That's it in a nutshell. That's what wasn't it? God has other plans, the thing about plans. And then you talk about preparing for a transplant. You talk about deja vu, Groundhog Day deja vu, the long way back. You talk about Black Friday. In the very beginning, you talk about ringing the bell. April, getting ready for the transplant from your perspective, what was that like?
Well, we thought this was over. He took the first round of treatment in 2018, was told he was in remission. We were very hopeful and thought this is the end of this. And then on Black Friday, as you mentioned, we got the news that the cancer had returned. And so now a stem cell transplant was in our future. And if someone's not familiar with a stem cell transplant, in my opinion, it's like they take you to the brink of death and then try to bring you back. And so that was challenging because I had to give up everything in my life to be a caretaker. And at that time, to even be approved for a stem cell transplant, you had to have a full-time caregiver. So everything in our life changed. And I can just remember walking into the hospital one day and thinking, this is crazy. At this season of my life, I should be here with my parents or someone that's more elderly, not my at that time, 51-year-old husband. And
well, even the doctors, what they literally said, because you go to a little school for a transplant, and they said, we're going to take over your life for several months. And I thought, oh my goodness. And that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
Every moment of every day is, they have planned out.
Right. But it's a journey, and there are good things in the journey. I'm not going to say it wasn't hard. There were times that were so challenging and hard. And as a caregiver, it is always so difficult to watch someone that you love suffer. And it's lonely. There, as a caregiver, so often that patient is a shell of a person, and it's lonely to crawl in bed and they're already asleep and there's no conversation, and it's a lonely time. But there were so many people in our lives that have no idea how important and their role was in our lives in caring for us and loving on us, and it made a huge difference.
Roy Mack and April, what a delight to have you on this show. You really inspire and give other people hope. This book really is a must read because so many people are going through tough times with cancer and with other things in their life too that I think are relatable. So thank you both.
Well, thank you for having us on.